In today's video, and we are on week 4 of our framework tutoring course, and we are going to go over run-ons, sentence fragments, modifiers, and parallelism. So let's get started. Okay, run-on and sentence fragments. Remember that a full sentence must be an independent clause, which means it can survive and make sense on its own. If a sentence is a dependent clause, meaning it, needs something else, then it just cannot exist on its own. Independent clauses should have a subject and a verb. Sometimes, though, the subject is implied, so keep that in mind. So, for example, run. The implied subject is not run, it's you, and the verb is obviously run. Is this an independent clause? Yes, because there's a subject, there's a verb, and it makes sense overall. All right, but problems start to happen when we don't have just full independent clauses. The first is a sentence fragment. A sentence fragment is just, as its name suggests, an incomplete sentence. Here are some common mistakes that can lead to a sentence fragment. The first is having no verb. Jack, when he was done eating, what did he do afterwards? When he was done eating is what was it called again? Sorry, I'm blanking right now. It's called a it's called a non-essential clause. Sorry, I don't know why I blanked there. When he was done eating is a non-essential clause. So like we learned before in the lesson, it doesn't influence the subject and a verb. So there's no verb. So this is clearly not a full sentence. Okay, no helping verb. The actress smiling in the crowd. You can't just finish a sentence off with an ing verb. You need to finish the sentence with another helping verb. There's no subject. Like to swim in the ocean. Who liked to swim in the ocean? Without that information, there isn't an independent clause. Or there isn't a main clause. While I was getting a jacket, you can't just finish off your sentence like that. You need something to finish it. You can have a dependent clause like while I was getting a jacket. But to make it a full sentence, you need an independent clause after it or to support it. Okay, next we have run-on sentences. Run-on sentences are sentences with unnaturally combined independent clauses. So basically, you combine sentences when you can't. There's 3 main types. The first, comma splices. A comma splice occurs when a comma is used to combine 2 independent complete clauses. Basically, you have a comma where there should be a period. Let's look at an example. Dogs are great pets. It is easy to feed them and take them on walks. Both of these phrases, dogs are great pets and it is easy to feed them and take them on walks, are just sentences. They make sense on their own. And yet, instead of being separated by a period, instead of being separated by a semicolon, it's separated by a comma. So it's not correct. Okay, the next is fused sentences. Fused sentences occur when 2 independent clauses are simply combined with no punctuation. Basically, it's like a comma splice, but there's actually no comma there to mark it. For example, if we use the top example, it would be, dogs are great pets, there's no comma, it is easy to feed them and take them out on walks. Once again, it's just wrong because there's 2 independent clauses that are not separated by anything. The final type is unnaturally combined independent clauses. You can't combine 2 independent clauses without the fanboys. Fanboys is something that's very important. You should probably know them already, but if you don't, fanboys is an acronym for the coordinating conjunctions that you can use to connect independent clauses. These are for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. So you can use any one of these fanboys to connect 2 independent clauses. However, well, that actually works really well. But verbs like however, moreover, nevertheless, although are examples of things that you cannot combine with. For example, dogs are great pets. Moreover, it is easy to feed them and take them on walks. You need to separate it with a period. Dogs are great pets, period. Moreover, comma, it is easy to feed them and take them on walks. Okay. Now let's look at modifiers. Modifiers are any words or phrases that modify, like its name suggests, or add information about another word. For example, after writing, she went on a walk. Here, the after writing part modifies the noun. It's not necessary for the sentence to make sense, but it expands information on she. Okay, the most important rule for modifiers is it must be next to the word that it is modifying, right next to it. When it's not, there's a couple things it could be. The first is a dangling modifier. An example, after writing, a dog jumped up and down. Wait, so did the dog jump up and down after writing? Wait, can dogs write? Like, clearly there's a problem here. It's missing a subject or a noun. What you should do here is you could split it into two sentences. You could say, after writing, I don't know, he slept, period. A dog jumped up and down. You need a subject. You need something. It's very simple, sounds very similar to its name. It just refers to a pattern of similarity within the structure of multiple sentences. So what I mean by that is that oftentimes you have a sentence or a couple sentences that are talking about the same thing. Parallelism occurs when you are expected to carry the same format or structure of the sentence, either with the verbs or the nouns. So there's two main areas where parallelism is used. The first is in lists, and the second is when there's two or more phrases with similar ideas. So when you have lists, let's say, like this example, Aga likes laughing, singing, and writing. The laughing, singing, and writing are examples of parallelism because they're all verbs that end in ing. They're gerunds. Now, let's say that this sentence was instead, Aga likes laughing, singing, and write. That A just doesn't make sense grammatically, and B, also it breaks this rule of parallelism. The second example is when there's phrases. Right here, the example is the SAT writing section challenges students and frustrates them. The challenges and the frustrates are parallels. Now, let's say the sentence was the SAT writing section challenges students and we're frustrating them. A, that just wouldn't make sense. And B, it once again breaks the rules of parallelism. Okay, so now that we've gone through these examples, let's actually go and solve some problems. I think we'll get started right here, 19. Okay. Emphasizing the car's acceleration delivers a clear message. It's fast. Okay, so this is an example of a question that kind of deals with both periods, but also like the run-on sentence and the things that we went over. So first, let's see what choices we have. We have commas, a period, and a colon. So let's look at the first option. Emphasizing the car's acceleration delivers a clear message. It's fast. This would be an example of a comma splice, so a run-on sentence, because it's fast and emphasizing the car's acceleration are two separate sentences. So A is wrong, and that also means that D also has to be wrong. It doesn't matter what it is, it would still be incorrect, even if there's a colon there, which also just shouldn't be there. So it's either going to be a period or a colon. Now, in this case, I think both of these answers are technically grammatically correct. But as I said multiple times, the SAT is sometimes not about which is the right answer, but which is the best answer. And here, the best answer is the colon. Because here, there's a clear message. Here's what the message is. So obviously, when talking about the message, which is it's fast, you're going to need a colon to kind of provide that example. Okay. Next problem is 26. So let's see. Columns in the US have followed the same basic format at least since the Dear Abby column was launched in 1956. Readers send in queries and a small number of them are published. The queries are alongside a columnist's published responses to them. Okay, so this clearly is a pretty wonky sentence, and this question is asking you to effectively combine these two sentences. So let's look at that. All right. First option, and a small number of them are alongside a columnist's responses, and that are published. Okay, that one just sounds really weird. We obviously know that's not the correct answer. Okay, next choice is published, and a small number of them are published. A columnist's responses are alongside them. Okay, that so far doesn't sound too bad, so I'm going to leave that answer in. It seems grammatically correct. Next one, and a small number of them are with a columnist published responses alongside those queries. Definitely not that one. D, published alongside a columnist responses. This sounds amazing. It's concise, it's grammatically correct, and it's better than B, so the answer here is D. Alright, the next question is all the way over here in 30. Once again, another one of these sentences. As you can see, a lot of these grammar questions are very similar. Rather than giving advice about how to have a writing career, information that could have been gleaned from a Google search, Gay went on to impart a lesson learned from experience. Keep writing, for youth is not a prerequisite to artistic success. Okay, so we have the option of either a comma, nothing, a semicolon or a colon. So let's see. So first off, C cannot be the correct answer because you can't just go from a lesson learned from experience, keep writing, because that's a completely new thought. So there needs to be something here that marks it. So that leaves us with a semicolon and a colon and not the comma, because a comma here would mean a comma splice again. And we already had a very similar question to this, but in this case, the right answer would once again be D, colon, because there's a colon that specifically marks your ability to go through and keep writing. So that is the correct answer. All right, a couple more questions. Which choice most effectively combines the sentences? 39. Okay, previously researchers considered these horses to be the ancestors of bowtie horses, by extension to be the ancestors of all modern domesticated horses as well. So let's see. Let's look at these options, pluck them in, and see which one works the best. Okay. I do not know how to say that, but Przewalski horses to be the ancestors of bowtie horses, not only of those horses, but also by extension of all modern domesticated horses. This is a very, very redundant sentence. So let's look at the next one. Of bowtie horses. By extension, they are considered to be all modern domesticated horses' ancestors too. This one's okay. It's better than the first one, but it's also still kind of clunky, like that two's in it. It explains things in a much more complicated way. So let's look to see if there's a more concise answer. All right, horses, and by extension, all modern domesticated horses. Okay, so far I think that's the best option. Let's look at D, horses, and all modern domesticated horses as well, because the consideration was extended. This one's definitely not it, and this one's definitely not it. So the answer has to be C. All right, and the last question for today. Modern Przewalski horses thus appear to be feral population, one descended from escaped domesticated animals. Definitely not that, because that would be the same as a period. There's definitely no need for a period there. Horses thus appear to be a feral population, one descended. Also, it wouldn't just be left alone. One descended from escaped domesticated animals. Okay, so here we have a dash and then a colon. Now, the SAT is never going to test you on the difference between a dash and a colon just because they're so similar. The only difference here is that there's a colon at the end. So let's see. Horses, one descended from, escape. The colon here doesn't make sense, so D has to be the correct answer. There's a lot of colon questions today. But anyways, those are all the questions for today. Hopefully some of this helped and you'll be able to use some of this information when you're practicing the SAT. If you have any questions, always feel free to contact me. Thank you so much, and I'll see you again next time.